Welcome, everyone. Today, we are so excited to have a special guest here, Dr. Sailesh Rao. He is the founder of Climate Healers, which is a nonprofit dedicated towards healing the Earth's climate. He is an environmentalist with a background in systems engineering. Not only did he revolutionize the internet connections, many of which we still use today, he's a passionate human, earth, and animal liberation activist. He has promised his granddaughter Kimaya that the world will be largely vegan before she turns 16 in 2026, so that people will stop eating her relatives, the animals. Stay tuned as he shares his insights on reversing climate change with us today. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you here. So I first just wanted to start off by asking you what initially inspired your journey as a plant-based advocate.
Well, I started working on the environment in 2005. Until then, I was working on making the internet faster. That's that's all I was doing. And then I happened to see Al Gore's presentation on TV, and I was shocked. So I decided to look into it, and within 3 months, I closed down my company and started focusing on it full time. So it started with the environment and what's happening to the climate. And then slowly it became about our lifestyle. And, you could see that we were routinely doing things that was causing the planet to die off. So I went vegan in 2008. So it took me 2 years to finally get it into my head that I need to do this. And then Kimaya was born in 2010, so it's 2 years later.
Mhm. Very
And
nice. Um, can you talk a little bit about the actual science that proves or is the most compelling in supporting the environmental benefits of a plant-based diet?
yeah, the most important thing we need to know is that 85% of the food we eat is already vegan. It's already plant-based, okay, in terms of total weight. So it's all the grains, vegetables, fruits, and nuts and seeds that we eat. And they constitute the majority of the food we eat because most of the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are mainly eating plant-based foods. It's not that they're vegan, but they cannot afford to eat meat and dairy. So 85% of the food we eat is already plant-based. And to grow that, we are using about 7% of the land area of the planet. Okay. So the size of Australia. 12% of the food we eat in terms of total weight comes from land animals and chicken and cows, pigs, sheep, goats, etc. And to grow that, we are using 43% of the land area of the planet. Okay. And on which we have pretty much cleared all the trees. So we have cut half the trees on the planet just to raise animals for food. And the remaining 3% comes from the ocean, for which we have been destroying the entire ocean. On land, we cut about 30 million acres of forests every year. That's the official number. And I have a lot of questions about the official numbers because I think they've been lying to us, unfortunately. But it's 30 million acres. But in the ocean, we actually bottom trawl an area the size of South America, about 4 billion acres every year. Every year. So which means when we bottom trawl, everything that's growing at the bottom of the ocean is being cut and killed. So that's also a lot of carbon emissions that happen. So you realize that if we just ate plants, you would, instead of 7% of the land area of the planet, you may need maybe 10% of the land area of the planet. Because from 85, you have to go to 100, It's not that much, the incremental change. But then you can release 40% of the land area of the planet back to nature, as well as the entire ocean back to nature. When you leave things in nature, it heals automatically. It's like when you have a wound, if you just put a Band-Aid on and leave it alone, it heals. But if you keep, scratching it every day, it's not going to heal.
Yes, absolutely. Those are numbers that are hard to even imagine. And like you said, you're not even sure that those are accurate anyway. So it
The,
seems like,
the land use figures are reasonably accurate because we have satellite pictures, so it's very hard to lie
mm,
about satellite pictures.
okay,
Uh, but they have been massaging the numbers on forests
okay.
because the UN has a rule that any area, 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer area with 10% tree cover is designated as a forest grid.
Hmm.
So the industry has been cutting 90% of the trees in a dense forest and pretending it's still a forest.
Hmm. Sorry if you can
Yeah.
hear a dog barking.
Well, the dog knows.
I know, it's okay. All right. Well, we can go to the next question. So you had a really exciting debate win recently.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that might say about the future of veganism?
Yeah, this is a very crucial debate because it was a debate that was hosted by the Oxford Union, which is the oldest debating society in the world, the longest running debating society in the world. It's 200 years old. It was started by students at Oxford because they were rebelling against the administrators and academics who wouldn't let them discuss certain topics. So they went out and said, we want to be able to discuss anything under the sun. So freedom of speech, you know. So they started the Oxford Union 200 years ago. And last year, 2023, was the 200th anniversary. And the vegan debate, so the proposition was this house would go vegan. And that vegan debate was the last debate of the 200th year. You know, so in that sense, it was a very significant debate. And it's also, to me, it's the elites, the intellectual elites who are saying, do we go vegan or not? So there were four speakers on either side, four speakers who spoke for the proposition and four speakers who spoke against the proposition. And we went in order. So, so sort of alternate order. And at the end of which they took a vote and the vegan side won. So the Oxford Union is now going to go vegan. And to me, it says that that's the future of the planet. The future is vegan. So we have ended, debate about what is the future. I mean, others may argue about it now, but it's going to happen. I feel like we have crossed over a major threshold.
That's amazing. It does seem like to me anyway that if you learn all that there is to learn about veganism, how could you vote against that?
Right. Yeah.
So we will continue advocating and educating
Yeah. We
to.
have all the videos from the debate on our
Okay,
website, Oxford Union debate. And you can see, we are putting it in order so you can see how the debate went. Of course,
okay,
it's there on YouTube as well as a playlist. Yeah.
okay, cool. I'll link that for people who want to check that out. Um, but to wrap up here, I wanted to ask you what advice you have for someone who might want to help climate change but is unsure of where to start. It can obviously feel very overwhelming.
Right. So what my data is showing, my analysis is showing, as a systems engineer, I do analysis on uh, the solution space for a problem, and then I figure out what is the optimum solution for the problem, right? And this is what I do for a living. And I did that for the environment. And my data is showing that if the world goes vegan, we will literally start cooling the planet. Okay, because um, even though we are conducting all our other activities exactly as we do today, you will see the planet cooling. Of course, you have to change our activities eventually. We have to change our lifestyles eventually. We have to change our consciousness eventually. But it's a good first step. So I say the number one thing you can do to address climate change is to go vegan as quickly as possible. And it's a matter of urgency because we are estimating that within the next 6 months, we are going to hit the 1.5 degrees threshold. Okay. And there could be lots of nonlinear feedback loops that get triggered if we hit that threshold. So this is why if we can do something that will cool the planet, why wouldn't you do it now?
Can you explain a little bit about that threshold you just mentioned?
So there are several nonlinear feedback loops in the climate system. And what I mean by nonlinear feedback loops is that it can cause runaway climate change. It just goes out of control. Nature is so much more powerful than us. Okay. And if you push nature in that direction, it could snowball to a point where it's impossible to bring her back. And so there are several nonlinear feedback loops that we know of in the climate system. Let me explain one. For instance, if the Arctic ice melts, right now the Arctic ice is reflecting sunlight back. Okay? But if the ice melts, then the water is going to absorb the sunlight. So which means the water is going to get hotter. So which means overall we are absorbing more energy from the sun than we used to. And when we absorb more energy from the sun than we used to, the ice melts faster. Okay. So you create a feedback loop where the ice basically disappears from the Arctic. And we know if the ice disappears from the Arctic in summer, it's as if the global warming that we have done gets instantly doubled. Why would we want to double the global warming instantly? It's silly, right? To even let it go like that. So this is what I mean by a feedback loop. If you double the global warming, then other feedback loops get triggered. So slowly, it becomes runaway climate change. And so there is the estimate is that runaway climate change triggers between 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. 1.5 degrees Celsius is 1.5 degrees and above, okay, of heating. And we are going to hit that in the next 6 months. And I'm saying, why would you let that happen? Imagine that you're living on Mars, right? So if you've gone to Mars and you're not trying to bring life on Mars. Now, imagine how much joy you would have when you see the first blade of grass on Mars or the first insect on Mars. And do you know how much we would protect that insect, protect that blade of grass and make sure that that develops into more and more? We need to be treating life on Earth with the same level of sacredness and awe and wonder, because it's a major gift that we have, this planet, and that's what I'm trying to convey to people. We can do this. We can do this. It's just changing our consciousness and not taking Mother Earth for granted.
Absolutely. I'm sure our community definitely agrees and stands behind that too. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for answering all my questions. And I will make sure to put all of your relevant links for climate healers wherever this podcast is posted. So I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today.
My pleasure, Emma.